I'm filming a bunch of videos in a row today, so it's gonna feel like I never change out of these clothes. I do. Anyway, I thought it would be fun today to look through some of the older bracelets that I have in my collection. I feel like a lot of you guys are insecure about your earlier works based on the messages that I get on Instagram, and you seem to forget that you have to start somewhere, right? I make pretty neat bracelets nowadays. I make pretty difficult bracelets. They have pretty advanced patterns, and I feel completely comfortable in making them, and I think that they look pretty good. But my earlier works weren't amazing. Now, granted, the works that I'm going to show you today, most of them are pretty good, purely because I don't really have that many of my earlier bracelets. I made a lot of my earlier works, weirdly, in Florida, because when I was a kid in like 2009, 2010 and 11, I think, 3 years in a row, I spent my entire summer in Florida, where I have my aunt and my uncle and my grandparents now have moved there as well. So I feel like a lot of my bracelets are somewhat lost somewhere in Florida, because last time I came there as well, I found some bracelets from ages ago. Anyway, I don't have that many of my super early works, but I still thought it would be fun to show you some of my bracelets throughout the years. So I started my bracelet journey in the summer of 2009. I met a girl that summer who I started hanging out with, and she taught me the candy stripe. I think she learned it from her stay at a hospital. Someone taught her there, and she taught me how to make a basic candy stripe, and I went from there. She then taught me the Chevron, and I believe those were the only 2 bracelets that she really knew how to make. So for a while I thought that those were the only 2 bracelets that you could make. And believe it or not, I used to wear my bracelets. I don't anymore. I don't know why, but I used to. This is definitely not my first candy stripe, for sure, but it is the first bracelet that I ever wore, and I think I made this one in Florida, which the girl that I met wasn't in Florida, it was earlier that year, but then that same year I went to Florida for the first time, and I think this one was the first one that I made along with this Chevron. So these 2 together. These were not the first bracelets that I made. I feel like these already look pretty good. My first candy stripe, my first Chevron looked completely horrible. These are already an improvement from those first bracelets, but you can still see that there are a lot of mistakes in the Chevron. You see colors popping through here. I made some incorrect knots. You definitely see a lot of colors popping through in this one. Over here, for example, I did a knot of an entirely wrong color. And there is also no tie situation. It's literally just a knot tied together. There's no ties here. So yeah, these were the first 2 bracelets that I ever wore. I wore these for a long time, which is why they're kind of dirty looking, but they have a special place in my heart. I also then created this Chevron, which also has the same no tie situation going on at the back. And then at some point I realized that they were patterns, and then I found friendshipbracelets.net, which holds a bunch of patterns, and that was the first sort of way that I learned how to make bracelets. I learned through online tutorials back in the day, of which there were not many, and they were not of the best quality, so it was kind of hard. I learned through the forums on friendshipbracelets.net, where people helped each other a lot. I learned through tutorials and such on it, which is also to say that yes, nowadays I am a moderator on Bracelet Book, and I sometimes work with them, and I think that they're a great website, but friendshipbracelets.net also holds like a special place in my heart, because that's the website that I really learned from originally. I did join Bracelet Book pretty early on. I mean, I've been at it for like 11 years now. But yeah, all I'm trying to say is I love them both. They're both really great. But yeah, then after I learned patterns, I found a pattern, which kind of looks random now that I'm looking at it, but apparently this is a pattern, and I made this bracelet. It's kind of hard to tell because the pattern is kind of messy, I guess. It doesn't really look like it has a cohesive design, but there definitely are mistakes here, and I can still see that there are a couple of knots that just go in a row of the same color, which I don't think is supposed to happen because it's supposed to look kind of messy. There are definitely colors here that I can see are sort of half popped through, like this color was not supposed to be there, and then the tie situation is also just not happening. I then stepped up my game and I made a bunch more chevrons. I wore this one for a long time because I thought it was a Gryffindor for years. until I figured out that I was actually a Ravenclaw. Whatever. I then started to advance and make more bracelets. At some point I made this bracelet, which you might have seen. I did a video last year which was titled Finishing Bracelets that I started in 2009. So this bracelet for the longest time was an unfinished bracelet up until here, and then last year I finished it. And you can watch that video. It's a pretty good video, I think. It also talks about the sort of progression of my bracelets. I'll leave that linked in the card in the description, which you can check out later if you want to. But yeah, the tie here is a loop, which is just some string. And you can see in this bracelet that I made mistakes. There is some random red in the black. It's also pretty stretchy. And then you can very clearly tell when I started making the bracelet last year, because it sort of shrinks. Somehow throughout the years my knotting has become like stiffer. So you can see that this top is very stretchy and you can see the holes in it. Okay, well you can't, but I can. Because I'm looking at like the light through it, I can very clearly see the holes. There you go. This kind of helps illustrate, I guess. But yeah, nowadays my knotting is much tighter together, and so this bracelet sort of shriveled up into this tiny little stiff thing. I don't know if that's good or bad, it's just how I progressed. I started creating more intricate designs, and I made this bracelet, which again doesn't have a loop, it doesn't have much of a tie, super stretchy, and super holy. I can really stretch it out and you can see all the holes in the bracelet. Again, I'm not saying that's bad, it's just how I used to knot and how I knot now. I like this one a lot. I think this one is really pretty. So much so that I actually remade it again last year. I sort of went through a phase last year where I was remaking my old bracelets. I remade it in the same colors. You can see how much thinner that is compared to the other one. It's crazy. But yeah, I think the new one is much smaller and kind of neater, I guess. Again, if you want to watch that video, I'll leave that linked in the card in the description. I think it's also a pretty good video. It's kind of nostalgic for me, because this bracelet really does like hold a special place in my heart. And then I made bracelets like this, which is a little neater. It's not as stretchy, still is though. Like you can see that it stretches. My bracelets now don't do that at all. It's also very floppy. See what I mean? Like it's floppy. It's floppy. And then this has ties. It's got just braided ties at each end, and I really like this one a lot as well. It used to be the profile pic from my VK group, which I don't have anymore, but it used to be the profile pic of that because yeah, it's cute, I like it. Some years went by and I started making bracelets tighter. I don't remember specifically what year this is, but this is definitely 2012-ish. I think 2011, 2013, somewhere in that range. But yeah, you can still see that it's pretty stretchy. You can still see, like I can still see the light through it, but it is much closer together. It has a tie, it has a loop. Though the loops that I used to do, first of all, were really big. I make much smaller loops nowadays. But second of all, the loop had knots coming after it. Like you can see that it has knots after it, which I don't know why I did. I don't get it. I don't understand why I thought that knots were required. They're not required. I see the irony in that. But yeah, I also didn't do any sort of start after the loop. Nowadays I make like triangle ends after a loop or a teardrop loop. I just made the loop 2 knots and then started making the bracelet from there, which results in sort of bunching up at the top. And then you can also see here that I moved the strings around because like the yellow goes that way and the red goes that way. And then at the end there's no triangle end or anything, I just made the braids. Again, not saying that's bad, it's just how I progressed. And that was how I did my bracelets for a while. These guys hold a lot of sentimental value for me. These were the first couple bracelets that I did for me and my now husband, then boyfriend, Stefan. I think we started dating in 2012, so it can't be 2012. I didn't make it straight away. So these were either 2013, which was the year after, or 2014. I think it was probably 2013 that I made these, probably like a year into our relationship. And these are very tattered. They're in terrible condition because we wore them for ages. Like we wore them all the time. I even slept in mine. We never took them off. I don't even remember which one is whose. If I were to guess, I'd say this one is mine because it's slightly cleaner. But yeah, you can see that these are disgustingly dirty and they're in terrible condition. This is completely ripped off. The ties are also sort of dying. They do hold a lot of sentimental value to me, and so I have them. And then once those guys died, I made new ones. And these are either 2014 or 2015. I'm not entirely sure, but it was like about a year after I made those guys. And we wore these for a really long time together. Again, I'm not sure which one is whose, but if I were to make a guess, I'd say that this one was mine, because it's cleaner, because I washed it. I don't think Stefan ever washed his. But yeah, these ones started dying as well. You can see the strings are coming off. And again, I did knots after the loops for some reason, and then I just started making the bracelet. And at the end here as well, there's no sort of triangle end or anything, I just made the ties, which were braided ties, which have entirely torn off on some of them. But yeah, these guys also hold a lot of sentimental value because we wore them for a really long time. We don't have couples bracelets anymore, we don't wear bracelets together, but we're married now, so we have rings to replace them, I guess. But yeah, that was how I made bracelets for a while, and then I revived my Masha Nuts channel a year and a half ago, and I started reviving that channel by making this guy, the Fishbone Chevron bracelet, which if you want a tutorial for, it's linked in the card in the description. It's the first English video that I did on this channel, and it was actually my most successful video for a really long time until I did the Chevron tutorial, which is now my most successful video. So that was really unexpected. The first video I did as like a comeback to this channel, the first video that I did in English ever to this channel, turned out to be really popular and brought a lot of you guys here, which I'm super grateful for. I'm glad I managed to find you, you managed to find me. It's a win-win for everyone. This bracelet was the first time that I ever tried to do a teardrop loop, and it was the first time that I did the triangle ends, and it was the first time that I did the twisted ties. So it was like a combination. This bracelet is super important for my channel because of those things. So yeah, since then I've done teardrop loops a lot on my bracelets. Since then I've done triangle ends pretty much exclusively on my bracelets. I always have triangle ends in some capacity, whether that being just triangle ends to start and finish, or like a loop and then 2 triangle ends coming off of that. I make triangle ends everywhere now. The twisted ties are also like a staple of what I do nowadays as well. I make them all the time. And these are the kind of bracelets that I create now. That's what I was saying, I make a loop and then 2 triangle ends coming off, and at the end I also make triangle ends and twisted ties. These are the types of bracelets I make nowadays. I enjoy the bigger bracelets because they give me more of a challenge. I have a lot of fun with them. I like these guys a lot. So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is we all start somewhere, we all make mistakes. The first bracelets that I showed here are not even my first ones. Those are a couple of months into me making bracelets. Even the candy stripe and the chevrons that I showed today, those are already a couple of months of me making bracelets. I don't have the first ones that I made, unfortunately, to show you guys. But yeah, we all start somewhere. It takes time to develop a skill, so don't feel insecure or somehow sad about the level that you are at now. If you want to develop the skill, just continue working on it, and I assure you, you will get there. If you put in the time and you try, you will get there. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you want me to make a video like this on alpha bracelets, because I do have a similar collection of alpha bracelets ranging from 10 years ago until very recently. So I think that that could be a fun video as well. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing because we are getting kind of close to 100k and that would be an awesome number to hit. Also follow me on Twitch, where I've started streaming recently and that's been super fun. I love interacting with you guys in real time. We've been moderating patterns a lot. I feel like that's gonna be like the most popular thing to do on stream. You guys seem to really like watching me moderate and give me tips, so that's something that happens. I don't have a schedule yet, but follow me on there if you want to get a notification every time I stream. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to give a special shout out to my patrons, and especially my top supporters whose names are gonna appear on screen right now. Thank you guys so much for your support, and if you also want to become a patron, there is a link in the description where you can sign up and get exclusive perks for your donations. Before I go, I want to show you some mail that I got. If you don't know I have a PO box, the address is always in the description of my videos and you can send me stuff. The stuff I'm going to show today is actually pretty old. I've had it for a while, but I still want to show you guys. I got a postcard from Dubai. I apologize for mispronouncing your name, but thank you, Shruthi, for sending me this. I got a beautiful letter from Beth, who included some Pokemon cards and some washi tape, so thank you very much for that, Beth. I also got this beautiful thank you card with glitter in it and a gorgeous bracelet in it as well from Polly, so thank you very much, Polly, for sending me this. And then last but not least, I got a wonderful letter and some string from Liza, so thank you very much for that as well. These are not all of the packages that I got recently, however, to keep this segment short, I'm sort of spreading them out over the couple of videos. Thank you guys so much for sending me stuff. If you want me to reply, leave a return address. I'm going to try to reply to as many of you as possible. I can't promise that I'm gonna reply, but I will promise to try. In any case, if you want to send me something, the address is in the description of all of my videos. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!